Once, a man walked through the forest, carrying a large bag of stones on his back. His face was pale, his breath heavy, and his steps slow. As he struggled to move forward, he saw a monk sitting peacefully under a tree. The monk watched him with kind eyes and asked, "Why are you carrying so many stones?" The man replied, "These are my burdens. I can't let them go. If I do, who will carry them?" The monk smiled and said, "What if I told you that letting go of these stones wouldn't make you weaker, but stronger? Try putting them down." Though hesitant, the man placed the bag on the ground. Instantly, he felt a rush of relief. His back straightened, his breath deepened, and he realized how much lighter and freer he could be without the unnecessary weight. This story, simple yet profound, speaks directly to our burdens, not physical stones, but habits that weigh heavily on our minds, overthinking every decision, judging others and ourselves harshly, clinging to things we can't control. These behaviors feel like they define us or keep us safe, but in truth, they are like stones we carry unnecessarily. Imagine this for yourself. What if you could put down just one of those stones today? How much lighter would you feel? What could you achieve with that newfound freedom? Take a moment to reflect. Are there habits or thought patterns you're holding onto that no longer serve you? Perhaps they're creating stress, self-doubt, or even unhappiness. What if quitting these habits isn't a sign of weakness, but an act of immense strength? Buddhist teachings are filled with wisdom on this very subject. The Buddha himself taught that freedom isn't found in acquiring more, but in letting go of what binds us. His insights, though ancient, hold incredible relevance in today's fast-paced, pressure-filled world. In this video, we'll delve into these teachings and explore 5 mental habits you can quit to unlock clarity, peace, and freedom. You'll hear stories, timeless and transformative, that bring these lessons to life. You'll learn how to stop overthinking, quit judging, release unhealthy attachments, let go of negativity, and free yourself from the toxic habit of comparing yourself to others. But this video isn't just about listening to inspiring stories. It's about creating real, actionable change. For each habit, I'll share practical steps you can take to start making a difference in your life today. Whether it's setting boundaries, practicing mindfulness, or cultivating gratitude, these small but impactful steps will help you lighten your mental load and reclaim your inner peace. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to transform your life overnight. Freedom begins with a single step, one small decision to quit a habit that's holding you back. Imagine how different your life could look a month, a year, or even a decade from now if you took that step today. So before we begin, I have a question for you. If you could quit one habit that's weighing on your mind, what would it be? Write it down, or simply hold it in your heart as we move forward. Because sometimes quitting isn't a failure. It's growth, it's strength, and it's the first step toward living the life you truly deserve. If you're ready to put down those stones and free your mind, let's begin this journey together. Overthinking is like a storm cloud in the mind. It blocks the sunlight of clarity and traps us in cycles of doubt, fear, and indecision. In Buddhist teachings, this mental habit is often referred to as restless monkey mind, jumping from one thought to another, endlessly chattering, and never finding peace. Let me share a powerful parable about the suffering we create through overthinking. A student once asked the Buddha, "Why do I feel so much pain and suffering in my life?" The Buddha replied, "Imagine being struck by an arrow. It hurts, doesn't it?" The student nodded. "Now imagine being struck by a second arrow, right in the same spot. Wouldn't the pain double?" The student winced at the thought. "Of course," the Buddha explained. "The first arrow is life itself, the unavoidable challenges, setbacks, and difficulties. But the second arrow is the suffering we create by overthinking, obsessing, and resisting reality. Most of the pain we experience comes not from the first arrow, but from the second one." This story illustrates a profound truth. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. Overthinking is the second arrow that magnifies pain, making it far worse than it needs to be. Think about the last time you faced a difficult decision. Maybe it was about your career, relationships, or health. Did you find yourself replaying every possible scenario, worrying about what might go wrong, or doubting your ability to make the right choice? Overthinking often stems from fear. Fear of failure, fear of making mistakes, or fear of judgment. But here's the irony. The more you overthink, the less clear your mind becomes and the harder it is to take action. It's like trying to untangle a knot by pulling every thread at once. Modern science backs this up. Studies show that chronic overthinking leads to decision fatigue, stress, and even mental health issues like anxiety and depression. It traps you in a cycle of analysis paralysis, where you're so consumed by what-ifs that you forget to focus on what is. The good news? Overthinking is a habit, and like any habit, it can be unlearned. Here are 3 practical steps inspired by Buddhist wisdom to help you break free. 1. Anchor yourself in the present moment. The first step is mindfulness. When your thoughts spiral out of control, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. A simple technique is to focus on your breath. Inhale deeply, count to 4, then exhale slowly. This grounds your mind and interrupts the cycle of overthinking. 2. Set boundaries for rumination. Give yourself a worry window. Set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day to think about whatever is bothering you. Write your thoughts down, then close the journal and commit to letting go for the rest of the day. This practice creates a container for your worries so they don't spill over into every moment of your life. 3. Ask yourself the right questions. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" Try asking, "What's the worst that could happen and can I handle it?" Often the answer is yes. This shift in perspective empowers you to stop fearing uncertainty and start trusting your ability to adapt. Imagine how much lighter your mind would feel if you quit overthinking. Imagine approaching challenges with calm and clarity instead of stress and doubt. By learning to let go of the second arrow, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Remember this: thoughts are like clouds. They come and go. You don't have to hold on to them. And when you let them pass, the sky of your mind becomes clear, open, and full of possibility. Now take a moment. Reflect on a situation in your life where you've been overthinking. What's one step you can take today to loosen the grip of those thoughts? Write it down, or simply keep it in your heart as a commitment to yourself. Quitting overthinking isn't easy, but it's one of the most powerful gifts you can give your mind. Judgment is a silent thief. It robs us of connection, peace, and the ability to see the world and ourselves with clarity. In Buddhist teachings, judgment is often likened to looking through a dirty mirror. The dirt doesn't reflect reality. It only reflects the stains of our minds. Let me share a story about a monk who learned the cost of judgment the hard way. There was a young monk who was known for his strict discipline. One day, while walking through the monastery, he noticed another monk wearing a robe that was stained and tattered. He frowned and thought, "How careless! How disrespectful to the sacred monastery." The young monk decided to confront the other monk. "Why don't you take better care of your robe? It's filthy," he said sharply. The older monk smiled gently and replied, "Brother, my robe became dirty when I stopped to help a traveler who had fallen into the mud. But tell me, is it my robe that is dirty, or is it your view of me?" The young monk stood in stunned silence, realizing that his judgment had revealed more about his pride and impatience than about the older monk's actions. Judgment is often a projection. What we criticize in others often reflects what we fear, dislike, or struggle to accept within ourselves. When we judge someone, we see them not as they truly are, but through the lens of our own biases and insecurities. This doesn't mean we should never evaluate situations or people. Discernment is different from judgment. Discernment seeks understanding and truth. Judgment, on the other hand, often carries harshness, comparison, or condemnation. Now consider how judgment plays out in modern life. We scroll through social media, judging others for their curated lives. We encounter people who behave differently from us and assume the worst about their intentions. Sometimes the harshest judgments are reserved for ourselves. "I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed." This constant stream of judgment creates division, fuels negativity, and keeps us trapped in cycles of blame and self-doubt. Judgment, whether directed at others or ourselves, is like carrying an unnecessary weight. It consumes energy and clouds our ability to see clearly. When we quit judgment, we create space for compassion, understanding, and connection. Imagine how different your relationships would feel if you replaced judgment with curiosity. Instead of assuming, you'd ask. Instead of criticizing, you'd listen. Buddhist teachings emphasize that quitting judgment is not about ignoring differences or excusing harmful behavior. It's about shifting from condemnation to understanding, from reacting to reflecting. Practical steps to quit judgment. 1. Pause and reflect. The next time you catch yourself judging someone, pause. Ask yourself, what is this judgment based on? Does it reveal something about my fears or biases? This moment of reflection can help you shift from judgment to self-awareness. 2. Practice curiosity instead of criticism. Replace assumptions with questions. For example, instead of thinking, "Why is this person so rude?" ask, "What might they be going through right now?" This small shift opens the door to empathy and compassion. 3. Address self-judgment with kindness. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Are your inner thoughts filled with criticism? Replace self-judgment with affirmations like, "I'm doing my best," or "I'm worthy of compassion." The kindness you show yourself will naturally extend to others. 4. Engage in loving-kindness meditation, metta. Spend a few minutes each day silently sending goodwill to yourself and others. Repeat phrases like point 1, "May I be happy. May I be free from suffering." Point 2, "May others be happy. May they be free from suffering." This practice helps dissolve the barriers that judgment creates. When you quit judgment, you free your mind to experience life as it truly is, not filtered through criticism or bias. You create space for deeper understanding, richer connections, and inner peace. Take a moment to reflect. Who or what have you been judging lately? What if instead of judging, you chose to understand? By letting go of judgment, you don't lose anything. Instead, you gain a lighter heart and a clearer mind. And perhaps, like the young monk in the story, you'll find that the dirt you thought you saw was never real. It was only a reflection of the mind's stains. Attachment is often mistaken for love, security, or success, but in Buddhist teachings, attachment is one of the primary sources of suffering. It's the clinging to things, people, or ideas as if they're permanent, when in reality, everything is fleeting. Here's a story from the Buddha that perfectly illustrates the dangers of holding on too tightly. One day, the Buddha told his disciples about a man who needed to cross a wide and dangerous river. After much effort, the man built a raft from branches, tying them together with vines. With this raft, he was able to safely reach the other side. Once across, the man thought, "This raft saved my life. I should carry it with me wherever I go." And so, he hoisted the heavy raft onto his back and began walking through the forest. The Buddha asked his disciples, "What do you think? Is the man wise to carry the raft now that it has served its purpose?" The disciples replied, "No, Lord. The raft was useful for crossing the river, but it is no longer needed." The Buddha explained, "Just as the man should leave the raft behind, we too must let go of attachments once they no longer serve us. Carrying them only creates unnecessary suffering." Attachment can take many forms. Point 1. Material possessions. Clinging to items for status or security. Point 2. People. Becoming overly dependent on relationships or fearing their loss. Point 3. Beliefs. Rigidly holding onto ideas even when they limit growth. At its core, attachment arises from the illusion that we can control or own something permanently. But life is impermanent. Everything changes. Possessions break, relationships evolve, and beliefs shift. Holding on tightly to what is temporary only leads to fear, disappointment, and pain. Think about the stress that comes with attachment. Maybe it's the anxiety of losing a prized possession, the heartbreak of a relationship ending, or the frustration when life doesn't go as planned. The attachment also traps us in a cycle of more. We chase after possessions, achievements, or validation, believing they'll bring happiness. And while they might bring temporary joy, the satisfaction fades, leaving us wanting more. This endless cycle is called samsara in Buddhism, a state of suffering fueled by craving and clinging. It's important to understand that quitting attachment doesn't mean giving up everything you love. Instead, it's about changing your relationship with the things and people in your life. Non-attachment doesn't mean indifference. You can deeply love someone or appreciate something while recognizing that it's impermanent. This mindset allows you to enjoy life fully without fear of loss. Practical steps to quit attachment. 1. Practice gratitude for the present. Instead of clinging to what you have, appreciate it while it's here. Gratitude shifts your focus from fear of loss to the joy of the moment. Point 1. For example, when spending time with a loved one, remind yourself, I'm grateful for this moment. 2. Meditate on impermanence. In Buddhism, reflecting on anicca, impermanence, helps dissolve attachment. Visualize how everything in life, objects, relationships, even your emotions, flows like a river, constantly changing. This practice teaches you to embrace change rather than resist it. 3. Let go of clutter. Both physical and emotional clutter create attachment. Start small. Donate items you no longer use. Journal to release unresolved feelings or ideas that no longer serve you. 4. Shift your focus to experiences, not things. Material possessions are impermanent, but experiences create memories that last. Instead of chasing after the latest gadgets or trends, invest in meaningful experiences with people you care about. 5. Detach with compassion. If a relationship or situation no longer serves you, it's okay to let go. Detachment doesn't mean closing your heart. It means allowing yourself and others the freedom to grow. Imagine how much lighter your life would feel if you quit attachment. You'd no longer fear losing what you have or obsess over gaining more. Instead, you'd live fully in the present, appreciating each moment without clinging to it. Take a moment to reflect. Is there something in your life that you're holding on to too tightly? A possession, a relationship, or even an idea? What would happen if you let it go? By quitting attachment, you make space for freedom, peace, and clarity. Just like the man in the story, you leave the raft behind, not because it wasn't valuable, but because it's no longer needed for your journey forward. Negativity and complaining are like weeds in a garden. Left unchecked, they take over, choking out the possibility of joy and gratitude. In Buddhist teachings, negativity is often linked to dukkha, the dissatisfaction that arises when we resist reality as it is. Complaining, in turn, amplifies this dissatisfaction, pulling us deeper into a cycle of frustration and unhappiness. Here's a story from Buddhist wisdom about how negativity can blind us to the beauty in our lives. A young monk joined a monastery with high hopes of finding peace and enlightenment, but soon he began to complain about everything. The food was too plain, the temple too cold, the prayers too long. He even complained about the other monks, finding fault in their habits and actions. One day, the head monk gave the young monk a bag of salt and asked him to mix a handful into a glass of water. "Now drink," the head monk said. The young monk took a sip and immediately spat it out. "It's too salty," he exclaimed. The head monk smiled and led him to a nearby lake. "Now take the same handful of salt and throw it into the lake." The young monk did as he was told. The head monk said, "Now drink from the lake." The monk bent down, took a sip and said, "It's fresh and cool." The head monk explained, "The salt is like negativity. When your mind is small, even a little negativity can overwhelm it. But when your mind is vast, like the lake, the same negativity becomes insignificant. Expand your mind and your suffering will diminish." Negativity is a trap. It narrows our focus, causing us to dwell on what's wrong while ignoring what's right. Over time, this habit affects our health, relationships, and overall outlook on life. Think about the last time you were stuck in a cycle of complaining. Did it solve the problem, or did it make you feel more drained and frustrated? Complaining often focuses on what we can't control, amplifying our sense of powerlessness. In modern life, negativity is everywhere. Social media thrives on outrage. Conversations often revolve around complaints about work, politics, or daily inconveniences. While it's natural to feel dissatisfied at times, constantly feeding negativity only deepens our suffering. Imagine a life where you no longer dwell on the negative. Instead of focusing on what's missing, you see what's present. Instead of complaining, you take constructive action or simply let go. Quitting negativity doesn't mean ignoring challenges or pretending everything is perfect. It means changing your perspective to focus on solutions, gratitude, and growth. This shift not only transforms your inner world, but also radiates outward, improving your relationships and environment. Practical steps to quit negativity and complaining. 1. Practice gratitude. Daily. Gratitude is the antidote to negativity. Every morning or evening, take a moment to list 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be grand. Simple joys like a kind word, a warm cup of tea, or a sunny day are enough. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to notice the positive. 2. Reframe your thoughts. When you catch yourself complaining, pause and ask, Point 1. What's one good thing about this situation? Point 2. How can I learn or grow from this challenge? Reframing shifts your focus from problems to possibilities. 3. Limit negative influences. Pay attention to the conversations, media, and environments you engage with. Are they filled with negativity? If so, take steps to reduce your exposure. For example, unfollow accounts that thrive on drama or spend less time with people who constantly complain. 5. Adopt the No Complaints Challenge. Commit to going 24 hours without complaining. If you catch yourself slipping, start over. This exercise builds awareness and helps you break the habit of negativity. Over time, you'll find it easier to focus on constructive solutions. 5. Focus on what you can control. Complaints often arise from frustration over things we can't change. Instead of dwelling on the uncontrollable, direct your energy toward actions within your power. This mindset shift turns frustration into empowerment. When you quit negativity and complaining, your perspective expands like the lake in the story. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming, and you find it easier to appreciate the beauty in life, even during difficult times. Take a moment to reflect. What is one thing you often complain about? Is it something you can change? If not, what would happen if you simply let it go? By choosing gratitude over grumbling and solutions over complaints, you free your mind from the weight of negativity. Life may not always be perfect, but with the right perspective, it can always be meaningful. Comparison is a thief. It steals joy, breeds insecurity, and distracts us from appreciating our unique path. In Buddhism, this habit is often linked to envy and attachment, which arise when we measure our worth against others. The Buddha taught that true contentment comes not from looking outward, but inward, from realizing that happiness lies within, not in external validation. Here's a story that captures the futility of comparison and the freedom of self-acceptance. A disciple once asked the Buddha, "Why do I feel unworthy when I see others succeeding?" The Buddha led the disciple to a pond where lotuses of different sizes bloomed. Some were small, some large, some fully open, others just buds. The Buddha said, "Do you see how each lotus grows at its own pace? Some rise above the water, others bloom underwater, but all are beautiful in their way." The disciple nodded. The Buddha continued, "Your path is like the lotus. Don't compare yourself to others. Each of us grows under different circumstances, yet we all have the potential to bloom in our own time." In modern life, comparison often feels unavoidable. Social media amplifies this habit, offering endless opportunities to measure ourselves against others' carefully curated highlights. Whether it's someone's career, relationships, or lifestyle, comparison leaves us feeling inadequate or envious. But the comparison is built on illusions. It assumes that others' successes diminish our own, or that someone else's happiness defines our worth. This mindset distracts us from our unique journey and blinds us to the progress we've already made. The comparison also leads to dukkha, the suffering that arises from craving and dissatisfaction. When we constantly chase what others have, we forget to appreciate what we already possess. Imagine a life where you no longer measure your worth by someone else's achievements. Instead, you focus on your progress, celebrating small victories, and trusting that your path is unfolding as it should. Quitting comparison frees your mind to experience gratitude, self-acceptance, and inner peace. It allows you to support others without feeling threatened, creating healthier relationships and a deeper sense of community. Practical steps to quit comparison. 1. Focus on your journey. Shift your attention from what others are doing to your progress. Regularly ask yourself, point 1. What have I achieved this week? Point 2. What small step can I take toward my goals today? Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. 2. Limit social media exposure. Social media often fuels unhealthy comparisons. Set boundaries, such as limiting screen time or unfollowing accounts that trigger self-doubt. Instead, follow content that inspires self-growth and positivity. 3. Practice gratitude for what you have. Every evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for in your life. This practice shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already present, helping you appreciate your unique blessings. 4. Replace envy with admiration. When you notice yourself feeling envious, transform that emotion into inspiration. Instead of thinking, "Why can't I have that?" say, "What can I learn from this person's success?" Admiration encourages growth rather than resentment. 5. Meditate on self-acceptance. Spend a few minutes daily repeating affirmations like, "I am enough as I am. My journey is my own, and it is unfolding perfectly." These affirmations help reframe your mindset, replacing comparison with confidence. When you quit comparing yourself to others, you reclaim your peace of mind. You stop chasing external validation and start appreciating the beauty of your unique path. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you compared yourself to someone? How did it make you feel? What would happen if, instead of comparing, you focused on your journey? By letting go of the habit of comparison, you give yourself the freedom to grow at your own pace. Like the lotus in the story, you'll bloom when the time is right, without needing to measure your progress against anyone else's. Life can often feel like a journey weighed down by invisible burdens, habits that cloud our minds and keep us from truly living. But as we've explored today, the wisdom of Buddhist teachings reminds us that we have the power to let go. By quitting overthinking, judgment, attachment, negativity, and comparison, we free ourselves to experience clarity, joy, and peace. These habits don't define us. They are simply patterns we've learned. And just as they were learned, they can be unlearned. Let me leave you with one final story, one of the Buddha's most well-known parables. A scholar approached the Buddha, eager to learn all he could. As the Buddha began to speak, the scholar interrupted with his ideas and knowledge, attempting to impress the teacher. The Buddha stopped speaking and began pouring tea into the scholar's cup. He kept pouring until the tea overflowed onto the table. "Stop!" cried the scholar. "The cup is full, it can't hold anymore." The Buddha smiled and said, "Exactly. Your mind is like this cup. It is full of what you think you know. To truly learn and grow, you must first empty your cup." This story is a powerful reminder that growth begins with letting go of assumptions, fears, and habits that no longer serve us. Only then can we make space for clarity and transformation. As we come to the end of this journey together, I invite you to take a moment to reflect. Which habit resonates most with you? Is it overthinking, judgment, attachment, negativity, or comparison? Write it down or hold it in your heart as a commitment to yourself. Decide today to take the first small step toward quitting that habit. Whether it's practicing mindfulness, gratitude, or self-acceptance, Remember that even small actions can lead to profound changes. And don't forget, you're not alone on this journey. Share your thoughts, challenges, or insights in the comments below. Let's build a community where we support and inspire each other to grow. Remember, quitting isn't a sign of failure. It's an act of courage and self-love. By letting go, you create space for something better, peace, clarity, and a life that feels truly free. So, take a deep breath, empty your cup, and start anew. The path to freedom begins with a single step, and I believe in your ability to take it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on mindfulness and personal growth. Let's continue walking this path together. Until next time, may you find peace and freedom on your journey.